Right, for this particular video, we're going to be looking at a two-way table question. And here we've got our two-way table, and we've got three questions that I'll discuss straight afterwards. So here we have a survey of 417 passengers on a flight from Vancouver to Auckland, and they collected data about personal accidents or lost items during their last holiday. The table below shows the number in each category. Now, one thing you'll notice here is that there are no answers or any totals here. So while you won't get a grade for doing this, you need to enter in the totals in order to get the questions right later on. So let's enter in these particular totals. Basically, we're going to add up vertically here. So we've got 15 plus 17, that's 32. So I'll write in here 32. 8 plus 16, that's 24. 134 plus 226 is 360. And then we go work horizontally. 15 plus 8 plus 134. That's 157 if I'm not mistaken. 23, yep. The next line, 17 plus 16 plus 226. That equals 259, so I'll just write that in there. And when we add up these, they should all add up to 416. So 32 plus 24 plus 360 does indeed add up to 416, as does 157 plus 259. They all add up to 416, which is great. So from this information here, we can answer the questions to do with this two-way table. So the first question we have here is which proportion of passengers on the flight had an accident on their last holiday? So what proportion? So proportion is the same as a probability. So there you can give your answer as a fraction. So give answer as a fraction, or a decimal if you want, but fractions are fine and they don't need to be simplified. So here, proportion of passengers on the flight, so that's all of them, so it's going to be out of 416. So we can put here, there are 416 people on this flight, and how many had an accident on their last holiday? Well, 32 of them did. Okay, so the proportion that had an accident, I'm going to write it correctly, is equal to 32 over 416. That's basically how you do it. You just look at the two particular categories. We haven't said in this first part here if there's a condition on the passengers, so therefore that's the reason why we use all of the passengers. For the next question, it's asking which proportion of passengers, so again, we are looking at all of the passengers on the flight that lost items on their last holiday were female. So now we've got ourselves a bit of a condition going on. So when we look at this particular question, it's saying on the flight that lost items. Whoops, I should use my pen there. So we're looking at this bit here first. Okay, so what proportion of passengers on the flight, so that's all of this, that lost items? So for this part of the question here, how many passengers on the flight lost items? Well, 24 of them did. So there are 24 passengers that lost items. How many of them were female? Well, there were 16 of them were female. Okay. So therefore, the probability of being female given they lost items is equal to 16 over 24. That there would be a merit question, by the way. This first one here is an achieved question, so you get a U if you got that right. And this question here is a merit question, so you'd get an R because there's a condition. Hopefully that answers that question. We'll go on to the third question. So part C here says here, last year there were a total of 10,076 passengers that flew from Vancouver to Auckland. Based on the information in the table above, how many would be expected to lose items while on their stay in New Zealand? So here what we're doing is, this is expected value. We've got ourselves a quantity here, so this here is a quantity, and then we've got ourselves a probability here. Okay, so there's a probability there. So the key point here with expected value questions, so with, I'll just write it up here, expected value questions, there are two steps. Okay. Step one. First of all, you need to work out the probability of the event. Work out the probability of the event that they're asking for. In this case here, they're asking for what is the probability basically of losing values on their stay to New Zealand. So losing values, in this case here, 24 out of the 416 passengers lost items. So we would say the probability of losing or lost items is equal to 24 out of 416. So that's the first step. We've done, it's kind of like you're reading the question backwards to forwards. You're trying to find the probability, and then we're going to do the expected value. Step two is calculating the expected value. Calculating expected value. So what we're doing in this question here is we're using the information from our one single flight with 416 passengers from Vancouver to Auckland, and we're using the probabilities there to extrapolate for all of the passengers that flew that year on that particular flight. In this case, it was 10,076. So what we do here is we calculate the probability of lost items. We've done that. And we multiply that by the quantity of passengers in this case. Okay, so therefore our lost items, that's 24 over 416 times the number of passengers, in this case was 10,076. Therefore our answer would be 581.31 passengers would be expected to lose items. Now in this particular case here, we can't have 581.31. So what the examiner will be looking for is for you to round that sensibly. So you could either put 581 or 582 in this case would be acceptable. Show your original working first, and then in your sentence, and you need to write your answer in a sentence, you would say, you do your calculation here, 24 over 416 times 10,076 equals 581.31. And then you'd say, therefore, either 581 or 582 passengers would be expected to lose items in New Zealand after flying from Vancouver to Auckland. If you can get that right, that's also worth an R. Just getting the probability part, so this step back here, that would be worth a U, which is like an achieved level question. So there's an example of one achieved level question and two merit level questions to do with two-way tables. Hopefully you got them all right and that you're ready to move on to the next task tomorrow.